And we're back. Alright, so this is estlcam. I'm running version 12.042. This is actually in beta. Version 11 is the stable version, so you may want to go with that. I've been messing with the newer stuff. It's a little bit of a different interface compared to the 11, and I like it a little bit better. But you can go either direction. So you see right now we're absolutely blank. I've not opened up anything here. This is just my tool list. These are all a bunch of the bits that I actually have out there. So I've already plugged in there the feed rates, everything I want, every little bit to go. So as I'm working at different stuff, this should carry across into it. estlcam's had a couple issues, couple bugs. When you go to save it, it doesn't carry over the feed rates, things like that. And I've had to go in and manually edit the G code to get that done. I sent error reports over to the guy designing it, and I'm actually not sure if he's implemented them yet. But it's just a little error thing. So version 11 carried the feed rates along, no problem whatsoever. 12 was having some issues. So hopefully by now it's fixed. But again, I do most of my stuff in vcarve, so I've not played around with it too much at all. Anyway, so tools over there. Go over to file. We're going to open, find our test cut. And there's what we drew before. So again, we have our square here. We're going to ignore this entirely. I'm not going to cut that. So as long as we don't do anything, we don't tell it to cut it, it's not going to do anything. We have 1,000 different shapes here, and it's only going to cut the ones that we tell it to cut. So when you look over here, you got a few different options. We have parts, we have holes, we have engraving, vcarve, which I've not messed around with successfully with this software, so I'm not even going to touch on it. Drilling, text, zero, preview, and then a few different options here, which I've not really messed around too much with that either. I've done, again, just the basics on this software. So the way to think about this is a part is, and again, if you hover, well, again, if you hover over literally anything, and I've not found a way to turn this off, even though it gets really aggravating. If you hover over anything, it will tell you exactly what you're looking at. So, part, if we're going to cut out a part, we're going to tell it that if we tell that the square is a part, it is going to cut on the outside of this line, and it's going to leave just that shape in there. So think of it, if this is a piece of wood, I'm cutting out the square, it is going to cut all the way around the outside of it and give me exactly that square. Hole is going to be the difference. If I tell it this is a hole, it is going to cut exactly on the inside of this line, leaving this shape out here alone. Now, when you're doing holes, you got to remember that we're dealing with round bits. So a hole is actually not going to be a perfect square because it will have a rounded edge. The bigger the bit, the bigger that rounded corner is going to be. Now, a hole is just that. It is starting out as a hole. So if I tell this is a hole and nothing else, it is going to run just the inside perimeter, and then it's going to be done. Engraving, if you look here, that gray line, that is representing the green line right here, and then the colored shape is the tool. So if I wanted to engrave exactly on this line, I would select there. If I want to engrave exactly on the outside, if I want to engrave exactly on the inside, right through there. And that's going to just change whether it cuts here, or it cuts here. If you're going to be doing engraving, you want to make sure you have an engraving bit. Otherwise, if you take a end mill, you're just going to get a square rectangular cut all the way around it, which will do the job. It's still an engraving. It just will not be that fine, pointy engraving that you're probably looking for. Drill, if you want to drill holes, and you have your circles plugged in here, because again, it cannot tell. Oh, you know what? I just lied to myself. You can set a drill toolpath without setting up a line. So anyway, so if I wanted to do a 1/4 inch hole, I guess I can drill. So this changed from the last time I used it, because before I had to have my circle set up. And if I want a hole there, I can tell it I want a hole there, I want a hole there, I want a hole there. If I want to do 1/8 inch drills, I can do 1/8 inch holes there. Now the drill pattern, when it goes to actually do the work, it will take, imagine this is the top of the board and this is the tool. It will actually feed down a little bit, feed down a little bit more, come up a little bit more, and it'll do that to the entire full depth so that it will be clearing out bits or wood chips as we go. I'm surprised they changed that. surprised. Text, you can plug in text to carve around, and then 0, we'll get to that here in just a minute. So let's go back to this. We will assume we're going to be using our 1/8 inch end mill. So we're going to select that tool. We're going to tell it we're going to make a part, and we're going to cut that. And that red line shows exactly where that tool is going to be. And again, you see your outside corners here are rounded, but you should end up with exactly that square. If we want to then come back and do a 1/4 inch instead, you'll see the line stays the same, but our thickness comes out here greater. So it will show you exactly how much of the wood you're chewing up and what's going to be left over. So if your parts are too close together, you'll be able to see that you were actually going to be cutting into different things. Now you notice that as soon as I told it what was going on here, it popped up this window right down here. And this is going to be just giving us it's going to be asking for the definitions or the structure of what we actually want it to do. So we're cutting out part 1. This number right here, if you leave it on auto and we have a bunch of different things going on out here, it will figure out all on its own which way it actually wants to do it. If you've got a series of things that must be cut out in order, like if I had a series of parts inside this one that I want to cut out before the big part gets cut out, I can then tell it exactly what number and what order it needs to be cut out in. So that will make sure that no matter what, this happens before anything else. Cutting depth. If we have something that's 10 millimeters thick out there and we want to cut all the way through it, you want to actually go just beyond 10 millimeters because wood is what it is and you want to be able to cut all the way through it. So if we do it at less than that full thickness, so if we leave it at 2 millimeters and we're 10 out there, we're basically just going to carve into it and then the part will remain. So it will not actually be cut all the way through. If you want it to be cut out, make sure you go beyond that full depth. If you want to cut out and you're worried about the part then bouncing around as the machine is moving around, which is not necessarily a good thing, you can set tabs and you can tell it how thick you want each one of those tabs to be. To set a tab, so if at this point we're doing almost a 1.6 millimeter tab, click on tabs. Anywhere that you click around this line, it will not cut. So we'll cut all the way around there and leave these tab places in position, and then you can go back, cut these out by hand, and then you don't have to worry about this piece rattling around, chewing up the bit, getting destroyed, because if you want that to be that shape, it does not want to move. I use double-sided tape underneath parts I'm cutting out so I don't worry about tabs. But different people do things different ways. If you are doing a 2-part cut, say I had another square in here, and I wanted to hollow this out and then cut down through it, you can actually take that position and tell it how deep you want that part to start out. So if I had hollowed this out 2 millimeters and then want to cut out a part in the middle, I can start this out 2 millimeters deep, let it open this up, and then go cut the part out. So that's part. Hole is going to be a hole. So if you click on that, you see where it cut in, and it's cutting on the inside of that. Now if I leave it as is, it is going to do just simply this. It's going to cut out on the inside of it. So if I'm cutting full depth all the way through this, I will now have this green line as a full hole, and this piece will then just fall out and go away. Now if I don't want this to cut out all the way, let's just say I want to make an oval halfway through the material and then just leave it alone, I'm not really so much making a hole, I'm making a pocket. And once I tell it to pocket, you can see the toolpaths go everywhere. So now it will go down to whatever depth I tell it to, and it will open this up, or it will take out all the material in there, so that we will end up with just a oval shaped pocket. If I had another oval in the middle here, or circle in here, or just a shape I didn't want to cut, and I want to cut all the way around the inside and leave this alone, it would not be a pocket, it would be an island. If I click an island, it's probably going to pop up an error message. Yeah, so it's just saying you've got to have something in the center to not cut around, because otherwise it's not going to be an island. And that gives us parts, that gives us our islands. Engraving, same thing, right around the line. This here is important. 0. So right now, a lot of people, they start all their machine work, everything down here in the bottom left corner. So that 0 there, that's your origin. That's telling the machine that when it creates the G code that everything starts and ends at this point. So when I go to cut it, if I show you the preview, it'll come up here, it'll go a couple times, go over here, cut, and then it's going to end up over here. If you always start in the same point, or you have everything lined out correctly, or it's just not important because your material is oversized enough that it doesn't matter if you were in exactly XY axis and everything lines out correctly, you can definitely leave it down here. If you're doing any oddball material, if you're concerned about the overall orientation of the way everything goes, or if you're just like me, I do not like to start out down here. I like to start out in the middle of the wood, simply because I can very easily find the middle of that piece of material, put the tool directly on top of it, and then everything just origins right off of there. So to find the middle, so again, you can leave it down here. You can start everything right through there, and then you just want to make sure that your tool is on that bottom left corner when you start everything up and when you zero out your machine. That way everything actually indexes correctly. Again, I do everything in the middle, or almost everything in the middle. So for me, what I do, and there's a couple different ways to do it. You can intersect two different lines, and I mean, you can anywhere. So if you want to origin it really weird, it'll find a spot. There's all different kinds of ways to do it. I like to do things in the middle, like I said, in the middle. So if you select circle center, you can select any 3 points, and it will center them directly for you. From that point, once you save the G code, it knows that this is 0. And everything is going to index, start, finish from that point. And that's the way that I personally like to work, but it's up to you how you want to do it. Click on preview. You'll be able to see, again, starting from here, how the tool is going to move. So that's the tool head. Let's speed that up a little bit because that's going to take a little bit. Oop. And then right back to where it started. And you'll see this blue line is a cut, and these are the tabs it's leaving in place. So as it comes around, it's going to lift up, drop back down, lift up, drop back down, and it will leave that material in place. So if this was exactly what we're doing, and this makes us happy, and if you want to see what's going on, so you can't remember what you did here, you can just click on it. It'll tell you, bring this window right back up, and you can see they're cutting 2 millimeters. That's part number 1, yada, yada, yada. It's got tabs 1.5 millimeters. You can see here. So you can just select on everything. You can double check on everything, make sure it actually makes you happy before you save it. Once you're ready to save it and you're ready to cut it, File, Save CNC Program. estlcam is free to use for the most part. You can use it free indefinitely as far as I can tell. After you've been using it for a little while, it starts adding 1 second onto every single time you save. So if I save 1 time, it's 1 second before it's okay, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. So as far as I can tell, that goes on to infinity. So eventually you will get to the point that you will either move on or you're going to give them $60. It's up to you. So we'll say okay. You're going to see that this here is one already saved, but again, I was just going through this before. So test cut, CNC program, save it. And now it is ready to move out to the machine. I will switch over to using my phone to shoot video for that because I'm doing this all on my computer and it ain't going to work. So I will talk to you once I'm ready to run. See you in a bit.